All right, our thanks once again to Dr. Catherine Huddleston for being here, and hope you enjoyed listening to her comments about what may or may not happen here in the overtime session or the 11th hour with the owners and the players. They'll get it worked out, that's for sure. All right, let's say hello to Paul Samuel Dolman. At least I'm right so far,
You got
right?
the name right.
I got it all right,
right,
did I not?
Yeah, and Larry's not here, so as long as you get his.
Yeah, that's fine. All right, what this is, ladies and gentlemen, as I said a little bit earlier, this is normally a sports show, but you know, I think tonight we're going to learn about life. We're going to learn about how we deal with each other, how we deal with things that happen in life. This is Paul's book. It's just a little nice, little simple looking book with a thumbs up on the cover, and it's Hitchhiking with Larry David. Now, Larry David is who?
Larry David created what's arguably the most popular television show in history, Seinfeld, with Jerry Seinfeld. It was Larry's idea, from what I understand.
Right.
And they had an enormous run, and he sold that in syndication, and it was a huge success. And then he started a second show called Curb Your Enthusiasm, which is, I think, starting its 10th season on HBO, racking up the Emmys, brilliant, and he's like this icon. He's got a worldwide following. I have a website.
Is he on Twitter?
Yeah, no, he's not.
Okay.
Actually, so he doesn't exist then.
Well, that's
my
all
bad.
right. That's okay.
I have a website, www.hitchhikingwithlarrydavid.com.
All right,
and
we'll
because
get
of
that up.
his name,
All right.
I have people all over the world every day.
Corresponding with you.
From Tunisia, Kuwait,
Wow.
South Africa today,
All right,
Sweden.
we only got a half hour. This
Okay.
is a big book and a lot to say. Now,
Go ahead.
Hitchhiking with Larry David. Let me just kind of set it up. You went to Martha's Vineyard.
I did.
Which you've been going to a lot in your life.
Since I was little.
Since you were little. I've never been there, but I hear it's a grand place. And so people there hitchhike? Is that a common thing that people do?
It used to be, but there's less and less because there's more and more fear in our society.
All right, so
People are
you-
afraid of each other, but
So what year is this?
I was fearless. 2 years ago,
All
I
right,
stuck
so-
out my thumb.
So 2 years ago you went to visit your parents.
I actually fled
right?
Nashville, yeah.
Okay.
I fled Nashville because I had a heartbreak, broke up with this girl I was madly in love with. She broke up with me, I broke up with her.
You probably needed some mediation there. Maybe you should have called Dr.
If I'd
Huddleston.
only known the storm was coming, the storm is gone. That's right. See, I always find out everything after the fact.
I know.
That's true.
Anyway.
Well, actually, I could tell you, the key to keeping the relationship going, which I've learned, is just the woman is always right.
Yes,
and just
dear.
say, yes,
Yes,
dear,
dear.
yes, sir,
There you
and
go.
I'll
That's
get
it.
that. And you know, I can't believe how stupid I was. You're always right. I learned this after the fact.
Right.
And so in my next, if I get another try. So I fled Nashville, literally, and I went up to Martha's Vineyard. And I like to say I traded one form of suffering for another, because I went up to stay in a very tiny cabin with my two parents who are in their 80s, who are wonderful, loving people. But you know, once you're my age and you're staying with people who's have a codified routine in about 1,100 square feet.
That's pretty small.
Yeah, it took me about an hour to figure
some
out.
ground rules, don't you?
Well,
Probably.
yeah, leave the house the sunrise and return at midnight. That was my. That's how I made it work. And I shared the house with their little miniature dachshund Max, who I like to say was not the brightest guy in the world. He only knew 2 words. One was his name, and the second word we never quite figured out what that was. Yeah.
Only he knew that.
But yeah, it was the only
exactly.
carbon-based life form that was acceptable there.
So you're there, and one day you walk out of the house, and you're going to walk somewhere instead of walking. Well, let me just see if I can get a ride.
Yeah.
So you're doing this.
I stuck out the thumb, and for the first official ride of the summer, and here comes, I don't want to give the book away, but David McCullough, the famous Pulitzer Prize-winning author.
So there are a lot of famous people up there.
There are a lot of famous life forms, and in the book there's Meg Ryan and Ted Danson and billionaires, but but some of the best rides were people that were just like ordinary mortals that breathe oxygen and exhale carbon dioxide.
Yeah.
But so
have
Dave,
broken relationships and all of that.
yeah, and I had one guy tell me about his marriage, and another guy tell me about Wall Street. He got downsized.
This is while you were hitchhiking.
Yeah, all summer long. Now, I didn't think I was going to write a book at the time. I still hadn't figured out what I was going to do with my life, and luckily, since the book is successful, I may avoid that for the rest, for at least a couple more months or years. So here comes David McCullough, and I'm, oh gosh, wherever he's going to go, I'm going too, like the Moon River song.
Yeah.
Because I thought I'm an idol, you know, worshiping guy. This guy's work, he wrote Truman, 1776. He pulls in, and I'm super excited, and he says, I'm only living 200, I live 200 yards up the street. I'd give you a ride, but So I'm crestfallen and crushed.
So why did he even pull over? I mean, why even stop to say that?
He's one of the nicest men you'll ever meet. I met him this summer. I gave him the book, and he says, "Damn it, I wish I'd picked you up. I wanted to be the guy." So maybe a second book.
Good.
So the next car that stopped, I like to say in the book, I crashed to the ground. I felt like Icarus from the sun, and I'm sitting there, and then here comes that car, and I recognize the icon. It's Larry David. Now I got to confess, I've never seen any of his programs.
Never saw Seinfeld.
I never saw. I'm like one of 7 people on the planet.
No, I would be one.
All right, so that's 8.
Because I work the late shift.
Yeah, I just
So
never,
when you work the late shift, you don't get to see that stuff.
I just never saw it for whatever reason. But as I got into the car, I thought, that'll never come up. Unfortunately, it did. So when I got in the car, though, Larry, first he pulls over, picks me up, and then he's leaning back like this, and I'm, what? And he said, "You're not a serial killer or something, are you?" And he was serious. So I thought about it. And
you said, no, I've taken the day off.
Yeah, I basically said, well, it's the summer, it's Martha's Vineyard,
I know.
and
read
even
that.
if I was, I'm on vacation, I'm not working.
Yeah.
Larry laughed, and then we took off. He took me all the way to the far end of the island. We had this great heart-to-heart talk about, does money make you happy? Does being famous make you happy? Did he believe in a higher power? What was it like to sell Seinfeld? And at the time, the Seinfeld thing came up, or the thing, because he mentioned the show. And I said, oh, I haven't seen that one, or is that on the new one? He said, the new one. The new one is 7 years old. And then he's very sharp. He said, you haven't seen my stuff. So in exchange for the ride, I promised to watch some of his program. And Larry, if you're listening, I know you watch Hope Hines probably every night.
Oh, sure he does.
DVRs it.
He and Meg Ryan and all of the others.
They all do.
Yeah.
They're probably taping it.
The Billionaire.
The Billionaire Bob.
Yeah, exactly.
I ended up watching the whole everything of Curb Your Enthusiasm, but after the summer because it was much too pretty.
Oh, sure.
So I honored my agreements. The TV gods.
So you picked this guy. How long were you in his presence?
That time, about 40 minutes.
Oh, so you've been with him more than once.
Well, here's what happened,
okay.
and I can give the book away. I hope you'll still buy it and donate it to somebody. But he picks me up. We have this amazing experience, and I said, we should have lunch sometimes. He said, absolutely not. Get out. So we're laughing. But then he was a sage and a prophet. He said, maybe I'll see you around. Now, there are people, the island's a good size. It's about 50 square miles or more, who live miles from him and have never seen him in 10 years. So I leave, take care. Thanks, Larry. Walk down to the beach. I come home. Of course, my parents are watching Seinfeld. And when I said, you'll never guess who picked me up, they're watching, shh, Larry David, They didn't care. The TV was more important.
Right.
So 2 days go by, and I'm on a porch at a place eating pizza again. There was a lot of eating in the book, as you'll know. It's probably, you can find it in the food section in Borders. So these people invite me sailing, I go out, I go boating, and then I'm back at their house sitting on their bed, we're having this deep talk, and the wife says, oh, don't forget you're going golfing to the guy. You're going golfing tomorrow, Larry, don't forget, he called. And I just had a sixth sense.
Larry,
so I said, Larry David?
Yeah.
And he said, yeah, how did you know? And I said, he picked me up hitchhiking 2 days ago. And he said, no, he didn't. Larry never picks up hitchhikers. So I swore, and when Larry picked me up, he even said, I never pick up hitchhikers. And Hope, I said to him, why'd you pick me up?
That was my question. So why did he do it?
He said, I don't know. I just felt like I was supposed to. And that's a big theme of the book, and we'll get to that in a second. But so he texts Larry David and says, I'm sitting on the bed with my wife in my room, in my house, with a hitchhiker. I get on the bike 10 minutes later. It's like, oh, sundown. I got to be 20 miles away down in Eggertown. I wind my way back to town on the bike. I sit on a remote dock where I finally get some cell service. In the book, my love interest is called The Miracle, and she really was. I'm dialing The Miracle back, and I'm on the dock. Here's the sunset. It's beautiful. And out of the corner of my eye, a person's approaching me from the left. It says, excuse me, do you know where the Atlantic restaurant? I turn, and he sees me, and I see him. He screeches. I can't say the words he said. We would be censored, and you'd be fined like by the Janet Jackson police. I'm screaming too. I drop my phone. He starts spinning around like, oh my God, you're a ghost. Are you real? Are you real? I said, did you get the text from the Hollywood Birdman as the character? He said, yeah, but that's 20 miles. Did you ride your, oh my God. So we have that moment like, what's going on here? And I call those
lined up.
I call those in the book divine appointments, like things that are set up beyond our knowing, but
Sure.
There's some level of us that we agree to.
Right.
And 2 days after that, I'm in a small store.
Or it's the people that God puts in our life.
Absolutely. And we don't always know it at the time. I didn't know I was going to write a book. I was just having an experience. So we're looking at each other, and then I tell him where the Atlantic is. 2 days later, I'm in a store buying some water, and someone grabs my arm. I turn around, and he says, "What's going on with us?"
This is unreal.
And there are other encounters like that. And then at one point, I'm at a restaurant, and I notice him, and I go over to him, and he said, ladies and gentlemen, like he's got 10 people at his table, it's the hitchhiker. And I'm like, I felt like I was famous.
You're a celebrity.
And they were like, and I said to him, and they all knew the whole story. So I said, Larry, are you telling people about this? He said, are you kidding? It's too good not to.
Yeah.
And the rumor is he'll put it in his show. So
good.
That's the kind of
so
thing.
So you're going to be immortal.
Maybe. Now that I'm on television, I'm in that book where, your index is a life form goes up.
Hang on. We're going to take a break. The book is called Hitchhiking with Larry David, Paul Samuel Dolman. That's this guy. We'll have more of that right after this, everybody. Talking to my special guest tonight, everybody, Paul Samuel Dolman, who is from Nashville. Is Nashville your home?
You know, when you come to Nashville, you never leave because it's so wonderful and beautiful. I grew up in South Florida, but I've been here 21 years, and it's magnificent.
And I asked you during the break, what all have you done and accomplished in your life? And you said?
Absolutely nothing.
You said I played the piano, play the guitar?
I played piano and guitar. I wrote songs. I had songs published. I had some songs recorded, and then I started a music company that helped other people get where they wanted to go, and then learned about the film business. And then what happened, I talk about this in the book, I was making a lot of money for me, and it got to the point where it was just about making money. It didn't resonate anymore with my soul. It didn't resonate with my heart. So I stepped away.
Are you a spiritual person?
Yeah, oh yeah. Oh God, yeah. I stepped away. I listened to that inner voice. Same voice that said, stick out your thumb. Same voice that said, write the book. Same voice that told me to sit on the dock when Larry walked up.
The same voice that we all have, but we don't ever listen to it.
That's it. And that's the thing. I think the great teachers throughout time, the ones we immortalize, the ones we look to, all said the same thing. Look within. And I'm about to do a web event called Finding Your Inner Voice. But I realize that people are looking for their inner voice in magazines and in shopping malls and in other people's opinions. And how can you find your inner voice outside of yourself? And I think that anybody can get quiet. Anybody can listen to themselves. And most importantly, anybody can love. Anybody can love. And the things that we remember as time passes, and we all know how quickly it passes, we don't think about what people did, really, or what they accomplished, or how much money they had. You ever talk about that? Like in 1782, so-and-so had no one cares. But what we look back at and we seem to value with the experience of time, we get wisdom. And we feel that love, as cliche as that is, love is the most important thing, and love that matters. And that's what I found in this book. I found deep love for my parents by the end of the adventure, that I could see them as human and compassionate, and I could see why they were the way they were. It's like, it's the dog that runs away from the person, the man he's never met. It's not because he was born that way, it's because he was mistreated. And so he sees a man and he runs, or a woman, it runs away. And those are the beings that evoke compassion, like homeless Linda in the book. I gave her a few dollars out of my pocket, but what I really gave her was my attention and my presence and my compassion. But did I give her anything? Because honestly, that's an experience that I still live with, and it chokes me up. I feel like when you're the giver, when you give of your heart and you give of your soul, you give to yourself, because aren't we all one family? But the experience is so rewarding. I get checks for this book. I love being on here. But every day, through the grace of God, I get letters from people all over the world already, and the book's only been out, I don't know, a nanosecond, telling me how this book awakened in them something spectacular. Helped them forgive a parent, helped them to realize they were not such a bad person, or maybe their perfection was in their imperfection, or that they should quit that thing that they didn't really want to do and they're afraid to leave and follow their bliss. And that's unique to each of us. I like to say that the song of our soul should not be sung silently. It needs to be sung. It needs to be, we need to share it with the world, and we can't go wrong when we do that. We have to sing our song. That's why we're here. And I find that more often than not, when that happens, we become what mainstream society would say successful,
And it's
which
all
is secondary.
No, I understand. And singing your song is like, don't leave this place with your music still left in you.
Oh, I love that. Yeah, sing your song, be yourself. If I can do it, I think if I was chosen to do this, it was only because probably whatever's so much infinitely more intelligent than the rest of us